Good morning. Welcome to the final day of AAO 2020 virtual. I have been enjoying the meeting immensely, and I'm hoping that you're enjoying it as much as I have. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve as the Academy President in 2020. And as my term draws to a close, I am pleased to introduce my friend and our next president, Dr. Tamara Fountain. Tamara is an outstanding leader, and we shall all benefit immensely from her expertise, her compassion, her dedication, and her commitment to our mission to protect sight and empower lives. As is the tradition, it is now my honor to pass the gavel to our next president, Dr. Tamara Fountain.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. It is such an honor to accept this gavel, but it's a special honor to accept it from you because you've been my friend and you've been my role model for so many years. And you have served during this year like no other with such grace and resolve. It'll be a very tough act to follow you. But on behalf of the 32,000 members of the American Academy of Ophthalmology, we thank you for your leadership.
And now, the 2021 President-elect, Dr. Tamara Fountain.
My dad is a retired military and commercial pilot. When going through simulator training, a computer can throw a lot at a pilot at once. A blown engine, a loss of cabin pressure, a fire in the cargo hold. He tells me the pilot's primary focus during situations like these, whether in the cockpit of a fighter jet or a 747, is to keep the plane aloft. Flying the airplane has to be the singular most important task. Everything else is secondary. Only when level flight is stabilized should the pilot work down the checklist and troubleshoot any other issues. COVID-19 has relentlessly marched across oceans, across continents. No one on Earth has bared the disruption and devastation of 2020. We too had a lot thrown at us at once. If a pilot's focus is to fly the airplane, I ask myself, what should ophthalmology's singular focus be in times of emergency? Well, that's an easy one. Take care of the patient. But we were physically separated from them during the early days of nationwide shutdowns. We ophthalmologists had to scramble to protect sight. Many of us use limited hours and a skeleton staff to take care of our patients' most urgent needs. And while never a complete substitute for direct care, easier access to telehealth technology threw others of us a lifeline to work from home, even in slippers. The airplane was stabilized. We could now work through our checklist. I think most of us can pinpoint the exact day when we realized the world as we knew it was about to change. For me, it was March 12th, when the NBA suspended their season. For 650 young ophthalmologists, it may have been March 9th, the day they received notice that the upcoming oral boards they prepared all year for were canceled. COVID or no COVID, these young doctors had to somehow get certified. The ABO rose to this colossal challenge, hunkered down remotely, and within weeks, ABO staff, directors, and legions of physician volunteers pivoted from the familiar in-person examination we all recognize and remember to an all-electronic platform. This first ever virtual experience was so well received by examiners and examinees alike. There is talk that oral board exams may never take place in person again. Check. Academic departments across the country huddled to answer the question, how do we continue the critical mission of resident education when our clinics are closed down? Program directors worked together across cities and states to deliver new e-learning modules to residents sidelined during the early days of the pandemic. Check. What about our prospective residents? Medical students locked out of in-person ophthalmology rotations found new virtual options created by our innovative medical student educators. This engagement will help sustain the competitive pipeline for ophthalmology's 2021 match. Check. Where all of ophthalmology meets. That's the tagline of this annual meeting, the crown jewel of our academy. It was impossible to be together in Las Vegas this year, but this show, as you see, did go on from my living room. The exhibit hall and courses look a little bit different, but we can still network and learn as never before. I know it's not the same. Believe me, I would much rather be up on stage giving a shout out to all of you in person. But we will take the best of this digital platform, convenience, longevity, and transform in-person conferences when we can safely meet again, hopefully next year in New Orleans. Check. So we've checked a lot of boxes this year, but there's still work to do. Some of you may look at the slide and think to yourselves, here we go again. Enough already about George Floyd, racial inequities, social justice. I hear you. This constant messaging may be tiresome to some and feel inappropriate to others. But here's the thing. Nearly every mother of a Black or brown child has had some version of the talk with her children about how to comport themselves if ever in a law enforcement encounter. My kids heard it from me when they were teenagers. 2020 compelled me to have the talk again. That's simply not something my white friends and colleagues have to do. It is different growing up Black or brown in America, and it shows up in healthcare. This is our lane. As a profession, we have a special moment in time to narrow this gap and make a difference for our patients. Together, we can do this. We have our work cut out for us in another area too. It's a perennial focus for the Academy, but perhaps never more critical than now. Preserving access to the best quality healthcare for our patients. Governments around the world will be fighting fiscal headwinds as the bill for this pandemic comes due. We'll have to fight that much harder to preserve funding for cutting-edge research, to resist burdensome hurdles to patient care, and emphasize the value of the ophthalmologist in the eye care team and of ophthalmology in the broader house of medicine. Together, we can do this too. The best performing aviators handle the pressure of an emergency because they've trained for and learned from the unexpected. The best performing organizations have leaders that train for and learn from the unexpected too. We will face battles into the new year and perhaps beyond, but I am encouraged, inspired really, by the resilience of my colleagues in ophthalmology across the world. We have learned a few things about ourselves over the last few months. We may be separated, but we don't have to be divided. We may not be able to congregate, but we can still collaborate. We may be apart, but we are not alone. Let's use these times, this opportunity to improve ophthalmology for our industry, for our profession, and for our patients. Now, I'd like to introduce Dr. Maria Aaron, Secretary for the annual meeting.
Thank you, Dr.